Carlos, when do we go live?
We're live now, so you guys can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right. All right. Welcome everybody. Thanks everyone who joined our session. Hope everyone's having a good community day so far. Hope everyone can stick around for the other speakers today, the other offerings. It's a great community day that the school put together, and hope everyone's coming off of a great weekend as well. Yesterday was a great day outside. So most of all, I hope everyone's been doing well during this almost 2 months off that we've had. It's been a strange time. It's been a surreal time, and in our own small athletics world, it's been a huge void for Mr. Nemi and myself, and especially for all the spring sport athletes and all the seniors. Extremely tough situation, and like I said, surreal. I was thinking about this morning when they made the decision to call the winter playoffs on March 10th. It was a shocking decision, but it ended up being the right one. But in the moment, the last thing I was thinking about was that we'd be sitting here on May 4th, having never really gotten started with the spring, and while there's a chance that a little something happening in June, which remains to be seen. The fact of the matter is most of the spring season's been canceled so far, and we feel for you guys. I feel for the coaches. I feel for the seniors, the spring athletes, like I said. And, hopefully these last 2 months, you guys have found a way to kind of fill the void that athletics has. And again, that's a huge void for those of us who, are as committed and, it's such a big part of our lives. So I hope you guys have been checking in with our home workouts. Our trainers have been hard at work programming, workouts every week, home workouts for your living room, for your driveway, for your backyard. A lot of body weight stuff, a lot of balance, athleticism, flexibility. And again, if you've been, making the most of this time, you can really come out of this thing a better athlete and really work on some different exercises that you probably wouldn't have had this not happen. So we're putting those videos out on our YouTube channel, Fairfield Prep Athletics on YouTube. We're putting them out on our Instagram, fprep_athletics, on our Twitter, fprep athletics, on Jesuit Pride. So if you're having any issue finding them or viewing them, please let us know. Like I said, we're working hard to make sure that we can give you guys a little bit of a guidance during this time. And the other thing is, last week we did an Instagram live. We did a workout with our trainers, Coach Kevin Coaches and Coach Nick Casablanca. So we felt like that would make it a little bit even more personal. So it's definitely something we want to do again. And again, please reach out to us with any home workout questions, anything you can do, any other issues that you have. We're here to help you. And the other thing that hopefully some of you guys use this time for, and this is what our topic is going to be today, is to start thinking about athletics in college. And whether you're a freshman, sophomore, or junior, it's never too early or too late to start thinking about. But the main thing that you should start deciding is, do I want to play a sport in college? How important is that to me? And what stipulations do I have as far as playing a sport? I know when I was a high school student, my goal was to play athletics in college at any cost. I had, preferences. I wanted to be in the Northeast. I wanted to be Division I. I wanted a certain size of school, but when it came down to it, I was so focused on playing in college. If I had to, I would have gone across the country to find a school that would have taken me. So I was on one extreme. I think Mr. Nemi was there too. I think he was committed to play, wherever he could. And, the other side of it is there's a lot of you guys that are extremely well-rounded students and people with other interests and academic profiles. And, you need to decide again, how important is this to you, and what criteria needs to be made, and when all that kind of gets decided, and then match you up and see what schools are your right fit. And the other thing I would say is make as many people at Fairfield Prep aware that this is a goal of yours. So again, reach out to Coach Nemi and myself in the athletic office. Make sure, of course, your coaches know, your head coaches, your assistant coaches. Make sure the guidance office knows. Make sure your parents know. And then use all these groups of people to help you, guide you through this process, and make it a little easier on yourself. And as far as our coaching staffs go, we have a great number of coaches who either played or coached in college, who can give great guidance, who can give you perspective, who can talk about their experience. And don't hesitate to use all these resources at your disposal. Mr. Nemi put together a PowerPoint presentation, so we're going to get to him in a second. But just as a little background, prior to coming to Fairfield Prep, Mr. Nemi was a college lacrosse coach for 20 years. And most recently, he was the top assistant at Yale for the past 13 years. And one of his main roles at Yale as the top assistant was recruiting. So he has extensive knowledge on what college coaches are looking for, what the different criteria that need to be made, what are college coaches talking to each other about. And while there was obviously high standards to be an athlete at Yale, the standards and the criteria and the networking and everything else, he can guide you on any level that you need. So he's a great resource that we have. He's got a great presentation for you guys today. Again, I hope everyone's doing well. Please, I'll say it, probably for the third time, please reach out to us if you need anything. And without any further ado, I'm going to pass this off to Coach Nemi.
Thank you. Hey, guys, I hope everybody's doing well. I'll just echo on what Mr. Curran said, talking about I hope you guys are being safe and taking care of yourselves. And as I've told I'm a lacrosse coach too, as you guys all know. I've said to my team specifically, this has been the most time you'll ever have in your life to work on yourself, invest in yourself. This is usually you don't have this much free time because you're playing games after school, practice after school, schoolwork at night, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden here you're getting this enormous amount of time in that window to work on yourself. So I would encourage you to do that. Take that time to invest in yourself, and so when you come out of this and we're back together, you're ready to hit the field or the court or the course or whatever it is with the ground running. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Let me see here. Like Mr. Curran said, guys, I played. Hold on a second here. I played lacrosse at the University of Maryland. Let's see here. Sorry, man. Tom, can you see that on your end?
Yep.
It's loading up right now?
Yep.
Okay, good. Just double checking. So you guys might know, I played lacrosse at the University of Maryland for 4 years, 93 to 96, and then got into college coaching my first year out. And so basically from 1997 till 2016, I was a college assistant. Division III, junior college, Division I in the Ivy League, which is, obviously incredible students. But also during my time at Yale, I actually owned a club business where I was kind of on both sides. I was recruiting for Yale and trying to provide that roster with the right guys. And then I was on the club side where I was helping place and create opportunities for kids across all different levels. So I've been on both sides, and now I'm obviously on the high school coaching side, which is a little different too. So, but what we're going to do here is kind of go through a bunch of things. We're going to talk a little about just some NCAA statistics in terms of participation, teams, scholarships, what that's like, and the numbers. This is more informative for you guys. We'll talk a little bit about the recruiting process with the understanding that every single team and program and level has a much different timeline. So it's really hard to football is different than lacrosse, is different than baseball, is different than hockey, is different than tennis. And you can even go back to when I was recruited back in, the spring of 1992. I didn't sign my national letter of intent with the University of Maryland until May of my senior year, which is insane when you think about it. And then now, most of these, if you sign an NLI, that's going to happen in the fall of your senior year. The timeline's changed a lot. And then we're talking a little bit about the rules and regulations. Nothing too in depth, but some things you guys just know and understand that go on throughout the recruiting process. Levels of play, obviously, guys, you got Division I, which is your scholarship and non-scholarship schools. Not all of Division I is scholarship. The Ivy League is non-scholarship. Parts of the Patriot League are non-scholarship. There are teams that are Division I that just don't have scholarships. Division II is similar. You got scholarship and non-scholarship schools. And then in Division III, you got to remember all your athletes are non-scholarship. So there's no athletic aid. There's merit-based aid. There's need-based aid. And then you have the NAIA, which is a mix of non-scholarship and scholarship. And then you have College Club, which runs on a lot of different levels, but some of that's really organized. I'll just touch on lacrosse. Lacrosse has got a really strong club organization, teams that practice 3-4 days a week and play games on the weekends and travel nationally. And you got sports like rugby, which are not NCAA sports, but that are played at a high level and run by like USA Rugby. So you have all kinds of different club levels there. We're going to post this, Tom, right up on our website. All this, the whole thing. We said we've got
a college section on Jesuit Pride right now. So and NCAA information. So this will be available.
So you can take a quick look at this. It's amazing when I actually did one of these for another organization. I'm just talking about numbers. And when you actually look through across the sports and actually look at like how many kids are playing different sports, it's really amazing. You got right now you have almost 11,000 Division I baseball players. You have close to 30,000 Division I football players. Lacrosse, you have 3,500 Division I players. So you could take some time and have a look at this. I find it to be very interesting because the average squad sizes is always leaps out to me just to see how many people are on each team. Like when you look at a Division I lacrosse team at 48, average of 48 players in Division I, but more like 34 players in Division III. Football is very consistent across the board, about 115, 105 players on a college football team. So this is great information for you to look at. Take a look at it and just see how many athletes and teams there are. The next one is just the sports sponsorship across the board. There really hasn't been a lot of growth amongst the different sports. Lacrosse has seen a little bit, but really in Division I, the numbers have kind of stayed the same over the past 10 years. You've seen some growth in indoor and outdoor track. You've seen a little contraction in sports like swimming and wrestling. But for the most part, there was 294 Division I baseball teams in 2010, and there's 297 today. So it hasn't changed much. So again, great information for you guys to look at your sport and see how many teams there are playing at the Division I level. And then here's, the thing that people don't know or understand is that the scholarship side of it is really interesting because, football is allowed to have 85 scholarships. Basketball is allowed 13. And they can't break those scholarships up, So if you're a basketball athlete at the University of Maryland, you're getting one of those 13 scholarships. Same with football. Now, in the other sports, you look at baseball, golf, gymnastics, all those other sports, they can actually break up the scholarships and use them for as many kids as they can. So I'll just use lacrosse as an example. Your average squad size on two slides ago was 47 point something, right? Kids on the roster. And that's only 12.6 scholarships. So what the coaches are trying to do is try to break those up and make it affordable for the different families. And they're also giving certain kids more money and certain kids less money. But this is great information for you to have. So you can take a look at what your sport offers. In Division II, these are the team sports. So you can see like in Division II football, there's 165 teams and 16 conferences, and they're averaging 36 scholarships a team. Now in Division II, these scholarship numbers, these are broken up in Division II, so they're going to spend money on kids in that way. And then in Division II, here's all your sports. So you have all your men's sports that have scholarships. And then here's your Division III sports sponsorship, which you can see it's amazing. This has changed a lot. You're seeing more and more Division III athletes and more Division III schools add great athletic programming. Again, I'll use lacrosse as an example. In 2010, there was 180 Division III lacrosse teams, and now there's 242. There's 250 Division III football teams. There's over 300 golf teams. Some of our sports, soccer has 400 and almost 20 Division III soccer teams. So just a tremendous amount of opportunity out there for you guys to look and find places that can give you what you're looking for in terms of being a college athlete. Okay, so now we're going to just touch on, kind of what college coaches are looking for. During my time at Yale, we really, I thought one of the best things we did, I think the college coaches in general that I speak with and know do a great job of just looking at the entire person. And so I think one of the things you got at Prep that's great for you guys is you do a lot of other things outside of your sport and outside of the classroom. But, you look at what they're looking for. They're obviously, you got to pass, you got to pass the academic side for whatever school you're looking for. They're going to evaluate you as an athlete. They're going to evaluate your skills relative to your sport or your position. Okay, again, now we're talking a little more general here. They're going to look at your service, your community, like whatever you're doing outside of school and sports. And guys, they're going to look at your social and personal life. They're going to look at your social media. They want to know about your family. This is what these guys do. Like, I used to joke, back when I was a college coach, I used to call teachers and guidance counselors and college counselors and athletic directors and assistant coaches just to try to find out as much as I could about a prospective student athlete. All right, the academic side. All right, so obviously, listen, guys, your transcript is your biggest body of work. All right, so that is 4 years of what you've done in the classroom. And I've always believed that that's the most important part of your academic, profile, because that's all you've done from freshman year when you walk on campus to when you graduate. It tells a story about what kind of classes you're taking, how you're doing in those classes, where you have success, where you struggle. It tells a complete picture of what you are as a student. Other things, obviously, teacher recommendations. You're going to want to have great relationships with teachers that are going to write those for you. Counselor recommendation. They're going to look at all your extracurricular activities. And obviously they're going to look at your testing, which is a little different right now. There's more schools right now moving towards test optional because they have not been able to test anybody here recently with the pandemic. So just something to keep an eye on what the schools you're looking at. You can find out on their websites or via their coaches or even our college counseling office with how they're handling that. But this is all an important part of the puzzle here. Next part is obviously, what kind of athlete you are. Just quickly, I think that, back when I was an evaluator, quote unquote, a scout, I used to look at kids that look at their athletic ability as one thing, their skill level is another, and then did they have both, right? I mean, because a lot of times you could take a kid that was a great athlete who didn't have great skill, right, and work on his skill when you got him, or you could take a kid that had great skill, right, maybe who wasn't a great athlete, but you could also work on his athleticism. And obviously there's kids that have both. So guys, combine type testing is great. If you can get a 40, a pro agility, a broad jump, a vertical jump. And we did a few of these things the other day, obviously on our Instagram live. That's great data to have. And it's also something that you can work on that's actually tangible. You actually have a number that tells you how athletic you are. All your weight room numbers are important. Your bench, your squat, your deadlift, how many pull-ups you can do, how many push-ups you can do. It gives a picture into how strong you are. And then I think part of the athlete component is multiple sports. I think the more teams you're on, the more athletic it makes you. But also, depending on how good you are at your second sport or third sport, right, it also puts you in a different role on a different team, which I think helps in your growth. A little general here, guys, but just the skills relative to your sport. It obviously varies a lot. But your skill level is going to get evaluated relative to those, not only, at your position, but in your area, in your state, nationally. Like I said, college coaches are always looking for the most skilled guys if they can find them. So again, the more skilled you are, obviously the more it's going to help you. But if you're not the best athlete and you have great skills, then you can be recruitable because, like I said, we're always looking for skills as college coaches. Again, I think this is something that is a strength for the prep community because you guys all do these kinds of things away from your sports and away from school. Your service projects, your trips, your charity, giving back to the community, coaching youth or club or camp. You go just to go back to when I was a college coach. There are times over the course of a year or 2 years, you might have 25 or 30 phone calls with somebody. And it was great to be able to not just talk about, what was going on going back to Yale, what was going on at Yale lacrosse and what was going on in your recruiting, but also to hear about what you were doing away from the field, right? So obviously you were working on your skills, you were lifting weights, you were practicing, but what else were you doing? It was always a great part of the conversation to know that there were kids out there And I love recruiting those kids that did a lot of other things. I think it was a great part of having a well-rounded student athlete. And, guys, we've been talking about this a lot here, but, your social media accounts and are a big part of what these guys are vetting these days. And what I would say is, I think now you can actually, recruiting right now is basically virtual, right? So you need to be able to use your social media account as a tool to get recruited. I think it's just, I think you're nuts if you don't have, a YouTube account with videos on it. Part of your Instagram account or your entire Instagram account can be things you're doing to prepare yourself as a student athlete. You can use Twitter the same way, and they'll look at who you follow. They'll look at what what you watch. They're going to look at all this stuff. So I would recommend to you using your social media accounts as part of your recruiting process and have things up there on your accounts that you're doing. Like I said, if you're shooting a lacrosse ball or shooting a basketball or you're out there running sprints, like, it's not embarrassing for you to put it up and use it. Because I will tell you that I would watch that stuff. Like, if I went to a kid's YouTube account that I was recruiting back when I was a college coach, I would watch every video that was in there. Because part of what I was doing was I was trying to paint a picture of, why I wanted this kid to play for me at Yale. And so they'll go through all of it. So use it to your advantage. Go next one here. Okay, so we're going to just briefly talk about, like communication with the coaches, the college coaches. And a tough question that you get a lot is, when do you start contacting people, right? And I always think a good baseline is when you think your ability and skill level is good enough for them to evaluate you. So I think you want to be in position where you're sending out film or you're sending out evidence of what you've done, your scores or whatever it may be, your times from swimming. Right. You want to send those out when they're at the level that a coach can look at those things and say, okay, that's the kind of kid that I want to be watching. So it's not really a date that's too early or maybe a date that's too late. There's no right date. It's just when you're at that time that you can start sending that out. And listen, your high school coach can help you with that. Tom Kerr and I can help you with that. So we're happy to, say to you, hey, maybe you're not ready to send this out yet. You're still only a sophomore or whatever it may be. And then here is when they can start contacting you. So, football right now, football, baseball, and lacrosse are now September 1st of your junior year. Ice hockey is now January 1st of your sophomore year. And then all the other D1 sports are June 15th after your sophomore year. Okay, so what I did just briefly here was try to build a timeline that might make some sense. So what we want to do is start in 9th grade. And look at, what you could be doing. I think the big thing is in 9th grade, obviously, get off to a great start academically, focus on your athletic development, your skill development, and your sport. I always recommend to families, during the year, we're not traveling much now, but normally we are. And when we're back traveling, when you're traveling throughout the year, stop and see some places. If you're driving from here down to Baltimore for some reason, stop in Philly and visit 2 schools. Try to be proactive when you're traveling and see places. We all go on vacation at some point. Again, at some point we'll be going on vacation again. And when you're traveling or playing club sports or you're playing, sports in the summer, stop and see schools. Again, 9th grade is a great time to play multiple sports, get involved in your extracurricular activities, start building your resume there. And again, I think a great time to at least start building your social media page that's dedicated to your recruiting. Your YouTube, your Instagram, your Facebook, and your Twitter are great places to have content that is relative to what you do as a student athlete. 10th grade. So I recommend if you're in your sport, they have prospect days or camps or events where college coaches are in attendance, try to be there, try to go to a couple. Again, stay focused on your academic and athletic development. Prepare for your SAT and ACT. All right, I know Prep does a great job of that, of course. And then continue to visit schools that you like and attend a game. I always recommend to kids, go to a game. You learn a lot about, what the level of play is like, what the energy is like on a sideline, how the coaches act during a game, what the support is like of the program if you attend games or matches or whatever it may be. And always, guys, if there's places you like, go online. They all have questionnaires online. Fill them out, send it to them. All right, they'll respond typically with a very, hey, thank you, but at least now you're in their database. And again, this is a good time to start communicating with your high school coach to learn about, again, all the guidelines when they can contact you, when they can respond to your emails, understanding the timelines of different sports and the rules. Like I said, Mr. Curran posted a lot of this stuff up on JesuitPride.com. 11th grade, make sure you know the contact and visit rules so you can start seeing schools. Again, stay in communication with your high school coach. On JesuitPride.com, we have a list of contact and visit rules for each sport. And again, keep working your list. I know in lacrosse, I'll use that as an example. I recommend to kids for the most part, unless you're, looking at 2 or 3 Division I schools that are going to offer you. I like 10 or 15 schools on a list, find out who's interested, start communicating with those people. If schools drop off your list because maybe they don't fit what you're looking for, they don't have room for you, whatever it may be, try to find other ones that might be a fit. Again, going towards your senior year, keep narrowing down your list. I think if at that point you're into your senior year and you haven't, again, all these timelines are different. If the Division I thing has not really occurred or it's not growing strength, keep looking at the D2 and D3 places. There's lots of great places out there to play sports. Explore all your options and have a great backup plan. One thing I'll touch on is the top D1 schools, and even in the Division III level, these people will keep recruiting and trying to find players, all the way into the last day that they can. Like, those guys, for the most part, are not going to turn away people that can help their program. So if you're a late bloomer or you haven't had a lot of opportunity yet, now you're in your senior year and you're starting, really play well and compete at a high level, don't feel like there's no chance for you. There definitely is. There's a lot of schools out there that literally will recruit until the last day that they can bring a kid into school. So real quick, some NCAA information to know. All right, so they have different periods. All right, so basically every sport has a calendar that the college coaches work off of, and they're allowed to either be in a contact period, basically a quiet period, or a dead period. In a contact period, they're allowed to communicate with you and evaluate you in person. You're allowed to visit campus. So it's basically an open recruiting period. Then they have what's called a quiet period, where they're allowed to communicate with you. You're allowed to visit campus, but they are not allowed to go out and evaluate. So what they try to do a little bit with the college coaches is not have the entire year be open to evaluations, because then they just be on the road the whole time. So and then a dead period is basically what it sounds like. It's no communication, no in-person evaluations, and no campus visits. So what I did was I actually pulled up a sample. It's actually a lacrosse one. Tom, what time do we have to be off here? Are we okay with time?
Yeah, a couple of minutes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a sample recruiting calendar here, guys. You take a look at it. And what it basically lays out is an entire calendar year and what these guys are allowed to do. So it's a great way for you to take a look and see what they're allowed to do throughout a year. And you can find these again on our website. Take a look at your sport and see when they're allowed to, go to things. Because what will happen to you sometimes, the reason we put this up is a lot of times you'll see a tournament or a prospect showcase or whatever. You want to make sure that if you're going to something like that, that it's during a period when these guys are allowed to, allowed to actually recruit and evaluate. And as you can see, if you were to go down to in this calendar, like January 6th to 20th, 2020, it's actually a contact period with no lacrosse evaluations. So basically what that means is they're allowed to do everything but evaluate lacrosse. So if you're playing basketball or you're running track or you're a wrestler, they can actually come watch you wrestle, all right, but they can't watch you play lacrosse. Very similar, September 1 through October 31, the fall months, they don't let the college lacrosse coaches go out and watch kids play lacrosse, but they can come to your football game or your soccer game or your cross-country meet, whatever they need to do. So just an example here of what they're allowed to do during a year. So just a quick update. I went online this morning, just double checked. It's still May 31st. So that's so right now all the colleges are basically in-person recruiting has been suspended. So basically what they're allowed to do is recruit virtually. Just to talk about my kids a little, I've encouraged, the guys that I'm working with on Fairfield Prep's lacrosse team to make sure their highlight videos are completed from last year, make sure that they're posting those things and sending those things out to schools they're interested in, because there basically is no in-person live recruiting right now. There's nothing being done until May 31st. So good time again, invest in yourself, make sure you have video, make sure you have things ready to send out. There's no unofficial or official visits right now. So it's basically the same as a dead period. And they are letting phone calls and digital communication right now between coaches and players and prospects, excuse me. All right, so that's pretty much it, Tom. Obviously, guys, know that we are here to support you, and we want to be advocates for you. So if you have questions, This is the first time we've done this, so we have a lot of basic information, but we're here to support you. If you need our help, just reach out, and we want to do whatever we can to help you guys.
Yeah, and just thanks, Coach Nemi. That was great. Just to highlight a point that he made was that very few players are basically plucked off a field by a Division I coach and offered a Division I scholarship. So the networking that you do, reaching out to these coaches, the kind of the portfolio that you build for yourself, and how aggressive and how you attack this process can really help you find your right school. So you use all your resources, put a good a plan in place, reach out with any questions or guidance that you need, and be aggressive in reaching out to coaches and checking out schools and checking out rosters and seeing what types of kids are on those rosters, where they're coming from, what kind of athletes they are, what kind of students they are. And, really, if it's something that's extremely important to you, go out there and take it and use all the resources at your disposal. So thanks everyone for joining this session. Hope to see you guys at 3:00 for a little rendition of the fight song. And like I said, hope you guys take advantage of the rest of this day. Hope to see everybody soon. Stay active at home, stay working out, and we'll all be back together soon enough for all our great athletic offerings. So everyone have a great day.
Thank you. See you guys.